What if the world ended, but the rent was still due? What if the apocalypse wasn't distributed equally? What if your debt dies with you? Red Markets, an economic horror tabletop role-playing game. Your survivors called takers, in the zombie hellscape known as the Loss. Your goal? Take jobs, make a lot of bounty, and bribe your way over the fence to the safer regions known as the Recession. Red Markets is currently on KickStarter. Please consider checking it out and backing it. Red Markets by Hebanon Games.
Slenderman, Slenderman, all the children try to run. Slenderman, Slenderman, to him it's part of the fun. Slenderman, Slenderman, dressed in darkest suit and tie. Slenderman, Slenderman, you most certainly will die.
Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Captain Solanum.
And
Still no word on Mikey. The E stands for evil.
He does stand for evil.
Did you get another text from him?
No, he's been
Silent?
yeah,
Yeah.
MIA. I don't know.
I actually did go by his place, but the door was ajar. Like, literally ajar. And didn't really want to go inside.
Well, no, you might get stuck in the jar.
Exactly, right? So, I'm sure he'll turn up.
It's Slendermonth, motherfuckers.
Yeah. And we are here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy, most pasta, and for Slendermonth 2016, most slender. And tonight we have the movie Always Watching, a Marble Hornets side story? Is that what it was?
I don't know. I don't really care. It's a Marble Hornets.
Oh.
Rather.
Always Watching, a Marble Hornets story. Sort of, yes.
Kinda, in a very...
It has none of the
not
characters
really
from
kind of
Marble
way.
Hornets. It has none of the events from Marble Hornets.
It has some Easter eggs, but that's about it.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's
like,
really about it.
I watched Marble Hornets roughly a year ago, and I didn't catch them.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know.
Yeah. Alright, so I guess we'll just dive right into this one. So it starts off at the end of a Slenderman attack, essentially. Two people running through fields and woods and getting to a car, and then one of them getting proxied or possessed by Slenderman and taking out the other one. And then we cut to the video cuts, and we cut to our actual protagonists: Milo, the camera guy, Sarah, the reporter, and Charlie, the transfer student or the transfer reporter. And so Milo has a bit of an unhealthy obsession over Sarah after a one-time fling. And even going so far as to be as he's been taping her over the last couple of months.
Yeah, he's straight up stalking her with a video camera and everything.
Yeah. So through shenanigans, the crew goes on a gig involving repoed houses, and during one of the houses, there's a particularly strange abandoned house they find, where they through their investigation and inside of it, they find the family just up and left for no reason, and like there's answering machine calls and stuff like that. It's just this family just went missing. But in the house, they find a box of tapes.
Yeah, it doesn't look so much like they couldn't pay their bills
as they just walked out,
left town.
Yeah, and they left like mid meal and stuff like that. I think there was like food on the plates.
There was homework on the kid's desk or on the table or something.
Exactly.
Like, up and left.
Yeah. And then they find a box of tapes from the previous family, and they take it to try and investigate a little bit further what's going on here, because they smell a story. On the tapes, Milo, who's kind of been delegated to be the person that goes through the tapes, finds movies like home movies, but with the slender man in the background in a suit. And the dad becomes a little more and more obsessive over it, like trying to film him and stuff. And as the crew digs deeper, and by that I mean Milo again, he gets marked by the operator. Also, at this point, he's also started to record himself in his house because he's becoming paranoid of something stalking him.
However, I'd like to point out that he's been recording himself the entire
time. Yeah,
time. Because,
yeah, he's just a weird camera file.
Well, because it's a found footage movie, and we wouldn't have anything leading up to this if he wasn't a fucking...
Yeah, And they're like, hey, this guy's a camera guy. Clearly he's got an obsession with videotaping.
Yeah, he's got to record everything.
You know, it could just be a job.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be about that.
Yeah, because, all the camera guys that I know need to live their entire lives on camera.
Or behind it, with it rolling. It's just...
Like, I've seen found footage ones where they take the cameraman angle and they do it properly. Like, he's just on a job when the shit happens, not at home and it's happening. But regardless, he gets marked, and soon after this event, while he's outside in his backyard, Slenderman appears and then starts approaching him like super fast, like just teleporting like 30 feet toward him, and this freaks him out and he flees over to Sarah's place where Charlie and her are getting together, and they're skeptical and like confused by Milo and his rantings, so they essentially just push him out. And Milo stays in his car for the night, contemplates calling the cops, but ultimately just stays in his car, not sure what to do. When he gets home the next day, Sarah and Charlie are there and have been going through Milo's footage of Sarah because they've discovered it. But then Slenderman attacks, so we kind of get this the start of this awkward argument and like confrontation, and then boom, Slenderman.
Man, we'll never hear from it again.
Yeah, pretty much. The crew flees. They have a talk about it, but it's like way too chalant. But yeah, the crew flees with the cameras, of course, and Milo's dog. Yes, he had a dog, and take to the road. So they get a lead about the family that owned the tapes before, but not before. They all get marked over while they're in a hotel. And they have to deal with, again, the stalking issue, some drug use on the part of Sarah, and a mild possession of Charlie when he kind of goes into a rage and tries to kill Milo.
Well, he's got anger issues, so it might not even be a possession.
Yeah. But they get through all that, and they're on the road again. They decide to turn off the camera. It might be better to turn off the camera, see if that helps anything. And they spend the night without the cameras on.
And their reasoning for this is that they can only see him through the camera.
Yeah.
You can't visually spot him in the room with you unless you're looking at him through a camera or watching video that, he walked in front of the camera. So their logic is, well, if you can't see him without a camera, then he can't do anything without a camera.
Right. And so they turn off the camera and go to bed, and the next morning, Marlo, the dog, is dead. Marley? Okay, sorry. Yeah. Marley, the dead.
Milo and Marley.
They should have gone with Otis. That would have been Milo and Otis.
Oh my god. Anyway, so the dog dies. There's nothing gratuitous about it. He just didn't wake up.
He falls asleep. Yeah.
But he's got a mark on his neck too. And on the inside of the window, there's an operator symbol, which is the
drawn in the fog on the inside. Yeah. On the condensation on the inside of the window, not the outside.
So that
the dead dog. Isn't that reason? That enough?
Exactly. They find
I think it's too much.
Yeah, I know.
Well, do you need the symbol as well?
But yeah,
they know why the dog's dead.
Yeah, they turned off the goddamn cameras because apparently that wasn't going to help. But yeah, so they find the house after they bury the dog and get back on the road. They find the house that the family was in, but it's been burned down. But that's okay because they found a bunker, pretty much, or a fallout, not a fallout
bunker.
Yeah, just a straight up bunker.
Call it a bunker
because it's concrete and proper. Yeah, it's a proper little hidey hole in the ground with a Wi-Fi connection and wires. And it's got camera feeds for the house and a hard drive that saved all the video files. And they see that the family gets attacked and killed mostly from Dan being possessed, Dan being the dad and husband, by Slenderman, killing the daughter and then almost killing the wife, but the wife kills him, and then she burns down the house in her grief.
And sits down in the living room.
Yeah. But she survives, and they find that she's in an asylum nearby.
She's just very badly burned.
And when she finds out that they've been marked as well, she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. She lashes out at them and stuff, and they don't really get a whole lot of information other than you're doomed. Nothing more to do but keep moving. They stay at a cabin and are attacked almost like less than an hour of being in this like setting up their perimeter and stuff like that by Slendy. And thinking it'll stop this, Milo gets the idea that if he kills himself, since he was the start of this for this group, maybe it'll stop everything.
Because when the dad / husband from the previous family died, there was no more possession, although that's I mean, the mommy's still alive, Slenderman's not following her anymore.
Well, the mark's gone on her.
Well, yeah,
So.
yes, right, the mark's gone on her, so their thought is that, his thought is that, if I die, then these two will be safe.
Exactly. And so he hangs himself, and then everything stops for a moment, and then suddenly he gets back up, possessed. And his body just essentially gets puppeted and goes and kills Charlie, hunts down Sarah very quickly, and then kills her, and then drops to the ground for the final time. And then the film ends with a cut clip of Dan and Rose, the original family, getting the camera in the first place from a garage sale, and noting that there was a weird college.
Dan and Rose? I thought it was a new couple.
No, it's the original couple.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
That is just lame. It would have been.
Yeah, no, I do agree.
Because then it would have been like to the end ?
Yeah.
Or ellipses.
I don't disagree with that. That would actually be. And then they try to shoehorn in the Marble Hornets connection. I was like, oh yeah, we found this. I got this garage from a garage sale from some kid, and it seemed to have a college film project on it. And you see I think a tape that says Marble Hornets, and it's and then credits. So the film was produced by Mosaic, Good Universe, and Grace Sam companies. The original THAC team, Troy Has a Camera, the guys who made Marble Hornets web series, did provide creative consultation on the film, and they did have Doug Jones, who is a very popular Hollywood suit actor, as the Slender Man, or as I like to call him, the Noperator, because he's not the operator, and I'll get into that. Was supposedly set in universe to the Marble Hornets, but wasn't going to have a direct connection to Marble Hornets. So my thoughts: actors do a pretty good job of acting, in this movie, portraying realistic or at least broken characters. Like each character, each of the three main protagonists have something wrong with them.
I've seen worse acting.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in a direct-to-video movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
it did have apparently select theaters, but it wasn't it was probably art houses, more or less. And yeah, they all play pretty decent, realistic characters. They actually don't go into some of the horror movie tropes that I kind of enjoyed. Like there's conversations between Charlie and Milo, alpha male versus that guy, but they kind of Charlie kind of tries to calm down and actually kind of becomes likable for most of the time. He's not really the insufferable alpha male that you always see in horror movies.
I never liked him, but yes, he does have an anger issue problem,
but he understands
the time that he flips out on Milo. Afterwards, he actually apologizes about it. He's like, I have I have an anger issue problem. This is why I got fired from
my last job, and this is why I'm
here,
here.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, I know it doesn't make it right, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I appreciated that moment, but
and she's an addict, or she's a recovering addict, or alcohol.
Which could have been
just
completely dropped because it
and then he's just
takes up all of 6 minutes of screen.
It really does. And then Milo's stalker issues, and they talk it over a little bit, but at the same time it's there should be they were a little too cavalier, but otherwise their acting wasn't bad.
They were also dealing with a much more pressing concern.
That is true.
Slenderman's after you. Well, he's after he's after all three of us, and yeah, you have questionable shit, but you're not trying to kill me.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a again broken
We're
characters.
We're going to deal with this after though.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It was a very kind of realistic reaction to the situation of having this supernatural entity after you. The Slender Man, or the Operator, or as I like to call it, the Noperator, because it's not the Operator from Marble Hornets, because it doesn't follow the same rules as the Marble Hornets creature outside of the appearance.
Dear God, no.
That he appears on camera. Here's some reasons. no true sickness effects outside of super tiredness and like headaches. Like the character
should
like
have just been attributed to exhaustion.
Exactly,
I mean,
like-
these
Yeah.
are people on the run.
Yeah, like-
these are people who are basically probably afraid to go to sleep.
exactly like when
Of
you
course, they're exhausted.
yeah like when you confront Slenderman and Marble Hornets, there's always like this like huge like confrontation, and you want to like throw up because you're
At the
seeing this
same
horrible
time,
thing.
at least we don't have to deal with constant hacking and coughing, because I didn't like that in Marble Hornets, and if it had been here, well, it would have been more properly tied to Marble Hornets, but I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have liked it here either.
Fair. It's got a very energetic or active or hostile, like, as a threat. Like, whereas the one in Marble Hornets was really kind of just like, he would show up and he would have a subtle influence
It's
on
a
the scene.
difference between mediums.
Yeah.
You're talking, like, web series versus movie.
Slow burn versus...
Movie
we have
has
this
to
done.
get it wrapped up in an hour and a half because that's the runtime movies go with.
Yeah, and I do understand that.
Whereas a web series, they want you to tune in next week or whenever the fuck they post a new episode. Like,
Yeah.
they want to drag it on for years.
They want to have a
if they
slow
can.
burn if they can.
And I hear what you're saying, but there was still no proper escalation. It was this is the very start, not much is happening, and then bam, they're in the shit and it's gone to hell.
Yeah.
And it didn't really get any worse, really. It just kind of stayed constant bad.
I hear you, but
Yeah.
that's the direction they took.
Yeah.
Like, but what I'm saying is that they couldn't have done the subtlety. They could have, yes, done escalation because it's easy to do that, and it would have been even easier if they hadn't have limited themselves to a 90-minute runtime. This could have had escalation, especially if they had have lengthened it to even 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, this movie clocks in at like 91 minutes,
Yeah.
and
It's just...
anytime I'm watching a movie, especially a direct-to-video movie, and I see that 90-minute runtime, I'm just like, gee, I wonder if you stayed within that, because that's what we're budgeted for. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
But we're going to reach it, but we're not going any further. It always tells me that they're sacrificing something in the story to stay at that 90-minute runtime.
Well, I can't argue with you there. I mean, like, and they had to make some sacrifices for it, clearly, because, well, and I mean, in my mind, I'm comparing it against an actual Hollywood movie, so that's kind of not fair, but other found footage movies like a Blair Witch Project or the first Paranormal Activity,
And Blair Witch Project isn't a Hollywood movie. It was a
An
fucking
indie film.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
college project.
It took, I think it was like $15,000 to make. That's about how much they spent.
I've heard 20 or so.
20. Yeah, it was not a lot of money. Like they
it
went
was
out
made
into the woods
for under 50 grand.
All right,
Exactly,
so
yeah.
actually that works out even better because it's an indie film. It's not a Hollywood movie.
This one probably cost more money to make than Blair Witch Project.
Probably.
But when you're looking at Blair Witch, it follows the laws of escalation, right? Like things progressively get worse over the span of the movie, which is still a longer movie. So I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But it's not just suddenly jumping right to being in the shit.
Yeah,
That being said, this movie, yes, it jumps right to being in the shit, but it stays in the shit for a lot longer than most movies would.
That's true.
Because at like the halfway mark, they're in the shit.
Yeah, they're leaving. They're
you
on the
still
road.
you still have the other half of the movie to go, and it spends half the movie at that same level.
Yeah, like them just being stalked and like toying with them for most of, and up until the end.
Yeah.
And even at the end, like it's still doing the same toying shit. Yeah, so I can understand why they had to make it more active, make it a more active threat for the film, like the short runtime. Can only see it through through film or through a camera. There are points in the Marble Hornets movie or in the show, in the web series, where it's shown that like it's a physical thing that pops up.
Yeah, Tim
It's not-
actually attacks it.
Yeah, like it's not just like he knows exactly where it is.
The
It's not
camera
like
drops to the ground, and he actually walks towards it.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas this one is like, for some reason, he is just like a ghost in the machine or a ghost in the camera, or it's just only visible through camera. So
That being said, it also makes him scarier. That's not quite the right term, but it's the closest I'm coming up with at the moment. or more threatening, or just harder to beat because
you can't
interact with him. I mean,
he can interact with you even if the cameras are off.
Exactly. But like,
and again,
you can't see him without a camera, and like, how do you like punch, shoot, stab what isn't there?
Yeah, and it's another reason why it also gives them another reason why they have to keep the cameras on for the sake of the film. Which, I mean, it's lazy, and we all know what laziness is like on this show.
Yes, but it also means that they can't fight it.
Yeah,
all they can do is run and investigate, which
makes it more of a threat than.
Well, it doesn't make it more of a threat because it's just as threatening either way, but it makes it so that our characters are limited in their options, so that they have to get the backstory because that's like their only option, and they have to keep on the move because for some reason that's working.
Yeah, where he doesn't just teleport inside the car while they're on the move.
Except it doesn't work because the dog still dies.
Well, and they still die too. But at the same time, they're chasing down leads. But
but it's essentially, it's been toying through them the whole time. It's essentially like a cat toying with its prey. He
probably could have taken them all off as soon as he wanted to.
Yeah,
but that's not what he does.
Yeah. And then the final thing for like why it's not the same one is that it directly controls the proxies. It seems like it directly possesses them, rather than subtle manipulation. Like in Marble Hornets, the web series, the operator like orchestrates things, but doesn't like do it in a very physical, or doesn't do it in a very direct manner. Like none of the proxies that we encounter in the web series, we're never really sure if they're actually working for him or against him.
Yeah, like Masky and Hoodie.
Yeah.
Again, this is a difference between because because
it actually
three seasons of Marble Hornets, versus a 90-minute runtime, and they waste like a good 20-30 minutes on fucking establishing these characters.
Yeah.
I say waste, but, you have to care about your characters before you put them into dangerous situations, or else
you don't give a shit when they die.
Yeah. I think, honestly, out of all three of them, I actually
kind of when they're in danger.
Yeah. I think, honestly, of all three of them, I actually I liked, I was kind of rooting for Charlie versus all three of them, because, like, the other ones were kind of just like, eh. But, so...
I was rooting for the dog.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know what you would be. So, that's all I got for, like, the list of what's wrong, or why the operator isn't the one from Marble Hornets. Or is, like, a different one, which is a possibility. But, the film seems to be mimicking tropes and ideas more from, like, the Paranormal Activity movies, rather than the Marble Hornets series, to me. Just in terms of, like... Again, like even like the later like Marvel Paranormal Activity ones, like where you have to use the camera to actually see the creatures and stuff like that, and just seems to use like the same like kind of structure as Paranormal Activity.
As well as like using gimmicks to like. There's a point where Milo sets up a recorder, or he's got a camera in his living room, and then another one on like his front entrance or something, and he projects the feed from the one on the front entrance to the wall of his living room, so that Slenderman can appear on that camera, but in the projection be right over Milo while Milo sleeps on the couch. That's when Milo gets the mark.
Yeah.
I get it, because then he can... Like, I kind of understand what they were going with, because he can see both camera feeds from one video feed, because the camera in the living room catches, obviously, the living room and the entrance feed, but at the same time, it's never explained why he does it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's me literally coming to a conclusion, and it really only seems to be there so that Slenderman can fuck with him in a more interesting way.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Connect in Paranormal Activity movies. It just seems
there.
It's there. It's there to make it better.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, well, when Paranormal Activity did it, at least they did it in the third movie.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, they kind of needed a revitalization. This is the first fucking movie.
Yeah.
And you don't, like, you could say, well, it's because they already did so much of Marble Hornets, but you don't have to watch Marble Hornets to watch this, so...
Exactly, yeah. Like, if you're going to make a Marble Hornet story, make it, like, standalone.
It didn't need to be that.
Yeah.
He didn't, like, that bit never had to be there, because, honestly, I would have never thought of that, unless... Like, I mean, I did think of it, but that's because I saw it in the fucking movie, and I had to explain why the fuck he was doing that, or else I was going to drive myself insanesier.
Yeah. You're going to be madder than you already are.
Mildly irate.
Yes. You'd actually go to full-blown mad.
No, full-blown irate.
So yeah, there's Easter eggs and nods to the Marble Hornet series in this one. Like there's like a wanted or a lost poster of Alex Crayley from the first one. The camera and the tapes start off with the Marble Hornets crew, and they were in Alabama when that happened, which is where Marble Hornets takes place. And there's some other ones that I can't recall at the moment, but those are really cool as a fan of Marble Hornets. But it also seemed like this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Like it wants to be like a separate film with its own concepts and ideas of Slenderman, but also kind of wants to be a love letter or like a cash grab to Marble Hornets, the web series.
It wants to have a built-in fan base.
Exactly, yeah. But at the same time, it's alienating them because it's making him seem so different. At least I watched the movie the first time, and like I waited for this movie to come out like for a couple of years since it was announced, because it was announced early on or like a couple of years after Marble Hornets was popular, and it was announced that a Hollywood studio was going to be doing it and a spin-off and stuff like that. So we were all like, all the fans were all like, "Oh my god, this is cool!" And I watched the first one. And I admit I did enjoy the first watch of it. But then rewatching it, like I wouldn't watch this again, like for like just to pop on and like enjoy, because it's too much like a poor man's Paranormal Activity and not enough Marble Hornets.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. It is poor man's Paranormal Activity, and for some reason they decided to do Slenderman in it.
Exactly, yeah. Like there's just so many like things from that series that they pull. They try to do different things with Slenderman, but not stay faithful to like what Slenderman was like in the Marble Hornet series. And they do give a few reasons in the film as to why they have to keep the cameras rolling, which is a big thing for found footage films. But there are also sequences that have no right to be recorded or even displayed, like the security camera in the news office. Just like...
That's the problem with found footage films. This is why I hate found footage films, because they have to dedicate X amount of time to explaining why the fuck they're recording. Mm-hmm. Also, it's limiting in shots that you can get, because it has to be either a security camera or a handheld or something set up on a tripod. It's just... Yeah. It's so limiting that I get that it's cheaper, but it pretty much always results in a worse movie than it could have been if it was shot traditionally.
Cinematically, yeah. I understand where you're coming from. Like, I like found footage films personally for, like, the visceral, like, you're in the moment kind of thing, but at the same time, there are some that I've seen that have been done poorly, where it's like, this would have been really cool if this had been...
done poorly.
Where I think my tolerance is just low for that. But, there are some where I was like, well, this would have been really cool to see, like, more visually, like, cinematic-wise. Like, I do agree with you on that.
This one, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could have still had everything about this movie be exactly the same, just shoot it in a more traditional manner, because, like, oh, okay, so we can't see Slenderman. Okay, well, you cut to their footage, periodically, which would have given you some of that visceral feel that you apparently like, but it also would have just made for a better film. And yeah, and the fucking security cameras. I don't dispute that they are in the movie. Like, I don't dispute the fact that they're in the movie, because I don't care about that. However, the security cameras in the news office, like in the newsroom building, or the news building. Yeah. And the security cameras, like, a state or two away in the fucking the original family's
in the bunker
home.
Yeah.
Well, the ones that they found in the bunker, but the cameras were in the house that burned down.
Yeah.
they have the exact same format, or, like, text style for their channel stamps.
Yeah.
Because they don't even have timestamps, which is...
Also something that should definitely have.
Every security camera has timestamps, because in the event that you need the footage from a security camera to, as evidence in a court case, you need the timestamp.
Yeah.
To show that this is when it was. Look, they're there.
I think even...
it's fucking... It's laziness that the timestamps aren't there. It's laziness that the channel stamps for the two different cameras, or the two different
systems.
sets of systems. And I mean, one is in a fucking...
news
it
has like
building.
It's probably an official security system, operation.
And then the other one is probably a fucking home, assembled fucking thing by a crazy man.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you can even buy Walmart ones, like at Walmart with home security system and stuff like that. But they'd be different, setups.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. One's done by professionals, and it's just going to have more bells and whistles
than your retail version.
Exactly. That's like they wouldn't be the exact same.
Yeah. Also, another one-up between the Marble Hornets, the web series, and this movie is that I think early on in the web series, he did actually have a home security camera, and it actually had timestamps.
Yes, but it was also just a camera on a tripod.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time,
we covered that last year.
I understand, but he did put a little bit more effort into
he put more effort into his security camera, sort of.
I mean, with what he got.
He put different effort into it than the fucking studio did.
Yeah, exactly. It did kind of sprout laziness, like
both of them.
A security camera should have had a timestamp,
and it wouldn't. At least in Marble Hornets, I can explain it by limited resources.
Yeah,
this one, it's laziness through and through. Didn't even put the timestamp. Didn't even bother to change the way they added the channels to the corner.
Yeah,
it was fucking lazy.
Slendermonth, do you have anything to add?
On that? No.
No? Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much my gripes about the movie. I was kind of on the fence when we first entered this, because I enjoyed the first watch, but as I watched it again a couple times, it's just it didn't have the same the initial fun, and I started seeing the holes between it and what it was trying to imitate or pay homage to.
Well, and I think another thing that it was suffering from was in Marble Hornets, the series, you saw Slenderman. You saw him all the time, and that's fine.
Yeah. But
for the first 2 seasons, the only thing that they're interacting with are the proxies.
Yeah.
Masky and Hoodie,
who
may or may not even work for him.
Yeah, because it's later shown that they were trying to help him escape Alex, or they're against Alex.
They're actually against Alex, and Alex is tainted. He's basically the Marble Hornets version of the possessed people from this movie. So it's just too entirely different for it to even go under the same banner.
Yeah, it's two different styles of what the creature does between the web series and the movie.
It almost would have been better if they'd have gone without Slenderman.
Yeah,
picked a different monster. Go with a different
something original,
supernatural entity.
Yeah, that's my issue, is that it didn't feel have enough Marble Hornet substance to actually be considered a Marble Hornet story.
I don't view that as a problem per se.
No.
I don't really care for Marble Hornets, but...
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, personally, I would have given more of a damn about this movie if it hadn't have been listed as a Marble Hornet story and they had swapped out the operator or the noperator for any other supernatural creature.
See, now, I'm not opposed to it being Slenderman, but I do agree with that. Honestly, with how little they tied to Marble Hornets, they might as well have just dropped that and not paid those guys that money, because they paid money when they really didn't have to. Mm-hmm. And they could have taken that cash and put it into making a better movie. And I don't hate the idea of a Slenderman movie, a well-done one.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would have changed Slenderman even more, because one of the things that makes him great as a creepypasta villain and as, in the web series is, the fact that he's just there.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything.
But things work around
But
him.
in a movie, that makes him boring and rather uninteresting. Oh, we get to see him all the fucking time, but he still doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that I would have changed. Not necessarily have him do anything, but have him move a bit. Like in the scene when our main characters get the tapes from the house and the father
Gets possessed.
Kills the daughter off camera, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't need to see a kid die.
No, exactly.
Just like I don't need to see a mutilated dog corpse.
Which thankfully they didn't do in
Exactly.
this one either. So
I didn't.
that is a one-up on the movies that they
kept it
PC about it.
tasteful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
and
like you
I
don't
mean-
need to show sex scenes.
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
People
but
know
I
what's going
appreciate
on.
them
Yeah.
when they do.
I just don't appreciate gratuitous sex scenes.
Yeah.
If you're trying to watch it with a buddy, it makes it really fucking awkward.
Well, only because I've got my dick in my hand, and you have a problem with that. But when he's choking the wife, that's on camera. And you've got him and choking his wife, and his wife's on his knees, so his hands are like down by his waist, and he's choking her.
And
Slenderman is in the closet,
just staring,
literally
watching.
in the closet. He has no face. He's not
Yeah.
staring at
He's just
anything,
observing.
and he's not watching anything. He doesn't have eyes. He's just there.
Yeah.
But what would have been really, really cool, in my opinion, and this may go against Slender lore, but it would have made it more visually interesting to watch, would have been to have Slenderman mimicking the choking motion.
To show that
To show that, he's assumed direct control over this motherfucker, and he's choking. Not the guy's not choking his wife. Slenderman is killing the wife.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it would definitely make him more active, but at the same time...
the climax, it would have been even better because Milo is, like, beating them with a big fucking stick.
Yeah. And just have Slenderman in the background
And
swinging, air.
swinging at nothing, holding nothing, and swinging at nothing.
Yeah.
It would have been way more visually appealing.
Yeah, or even like when he's like on the ground, when Milo's on the ground, and like suddenly Slenderman like is in like the window or something, just to see Slenderman like pick him up as he gets up, that would have been really cool and creepy.
Or maybe Slenderman's looking a little relaxed, and then he stands up straight, and that's when Milo
gets up.
Like, I mean, there's so many things you can do, and they didn't even try to do anything.
Yeah.
They just stuck with guy in a suit with no face standing there.
Yeah, like they were torn between like, let's do some different things with Slenderman because they were doing them, but at the same time, like we have these restrictions. It's like, well, you either follow the rules that have been previously established, or you go unique. You go completely out.
Well, not completely.
Not completely, but I mean, you go like you put. This is a new Slenderman, and this is not to do with Marvel Hornets.
He's still Slenderman.
You just want him to stand there and do nothing. You can still have him fucking creepy as shit. What was that other one that I watched? Everyman Hybrid.
Yes.
When they first see Slenderman in the bedroom and he's doing that fucking bobblehead thing.
Oh, yeah.
Creep the fuck out of me, and he's just standing there.
Yeah. Another thing, like actually, when you said about him having him move, there have been ones like Dark Harvest where there's a scene where they're in the like a glass elevator going up a couple of stories, and like one of the floors, you see Slenderman like just there on the floor, and he's like still, and then suddenly it doesn't like distort or anything like that. It just cuts to him just suddenly like moving like in this like horrible like distended limb way, and then it cuts out. But, to have him, like, move would have been, like, up the ante a bit.
Well, and I mean, which Slenderman is more scary? The one from this movie, or Marble Hornets, or the one from earlier this month, where he had fucking tentacles and was chasing a guy through the streets?
Yeah.
Which one is more immediately terrifying? The one with fucking tentacles.
Yeah.
Like, the one who's actually actively coming at you.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I understand that one is kind of not really Slenderman because that's not what he does.
Actually is, in some of the stories.
Yeah, in some of them, but in the majority, he just seems to
be a tall guy in suit.
Orchestrate events around him so that
Some doesn't he
people
have
go
multiple
insane.
arms?
The thing with the mythos is that there's a couple of different variants. Like, I have actually seen ones where there's photos, some of the early photos, there's even like ones where there's kids like on track and they're running, and you see Slenderman running with them in the photo. And there are ones where he's got tentacle. There's a lot of them where he's like got like black tentacles, and that's where that comes from. And there have been, I think, a couple where like he has multiple arms. There's actually even a web series that's finished, I believe, called 05 something. Sorry if I got that one mixed up. But it actually incorporates the tentacles. Actually uses like when somebody answers the door, hello, and it's just like gone. Yeah, it's just this creepy like kind of stop motion black like silhouette of the tentacles that just come into the room and take the guy.
Okay.
It's kind of unnerving, but it's like in an unrealistic way, or in that uncanny way. But yeah,
See,
there are different,
right there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Fucking
there is a
stop
lot
motion.
of
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a lot of give in what you have to do with Slenderman.
Exactly, yeah. And
so
these guys were
the
like
fact
just
that they did nothing new.
Yeah.
They didn't even try and make him more interesting to look at. Like, don't get me wrong, Slenderman has to be tall, skinny guy in a fucking suit with no face.
yeah. But there are
There's a lot
ways to
you can
interpret-
play with while still having that.
Yeah.
Like, you can have him move.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, I don't think he ever moves from the waist down. I think he moves his arms occasionally. Like, when he marks Milo, he has to move his arm.
Yeah, and I
But-
think he does like walk. I think once on the projector, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just like,
Well, that's
like he's just like,
Yeah,
It's almost
he
like
teleports,
he
and
just
that's
copy and
fine.
paste him.
okay. And this is a little off topic, but it's still valid. When they first notice him and they're doing their research to find out about him, I'm sorry, there's an entire web series devoted to
Yeah,
it.
Marble Hornets. Like that should have been
And
like
Marble
their tie-in.
Hornets, when you're watching it, treats you,
As-
the watcher,
Yeah.
as somebody who exists in the same world as them.
Yeah, because they
Why the fuck didn't Milo watch this?
and Tim and Alex
See,
and like them even
and
like
that would
comment
have
on
been
that.
if they had of really made it a Marble Hornet story, which they didn't.
No, they didn't.
I mean,
Like,
you're actually really on topic because we were spiraling out of control. But again, that brings us to the point of: is it Marble Hornets or isn't it?
Yeah, like
Because you're right. If it is Marble Hornets, the web series should be out there.
and if they're reporters and investigating this, they shouldn't just
A
find
Google search would
Yeah.
have gotten them.
Yeah, the symbol, the operator symbol, the O with the X, should not just come up with the Zodiac killer. Like that's like one of the first things they find out they kind of like consider is like, well, maybe it's like the Zodiac killer. He left like weird symbols like this. It's like but at the same time, even in Marble Hornets, several of the in characters interact with that. Like, say,
as a
why'd you put my
fan-
shit on the video?
As a fan of real fucking serial killers, I did appreciate the fact that
They tried it.
that does actually kind of look like something the Zodiac killer. In fact, it does. But yeah,
But as a Marble Hornets side story, it doesn't.
yeah, but I wasn't watching it like that,
I know.
so I did just appreciate the Zodiac
Yeah.
killer thing. Like, honestly, this is.
It showed like the outside. Like these guys don't know about Slenderman.
references to
Yeah.
possibilities are cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because it brings
It was a
more
missed
into it.
opportunity to not bring in
It
the
was a missed
series.
opportunity to make it a Marble Hornet story, because having that web series, like having him binge watch that, and I mean, like,
Good luck, buddy.
I'm aware of how much binge watching that series will fucking drive you a little bit closer to insanity.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
5 days later, he's got like a beard. His eyes are all like
bloodshot and
bugged out.
bugged out.
He's got like a charcoal or like crayon like the circle with the X's all over his face
And his
'Cause he's just going
walls.
nuts. Yeah, and his walls. The dog. it's like a Dalmatian but with X's nose. That's a little too silly. Sorry.
Oh, little hugs and kisses.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all Slenderman
he's just
wants.
giving you a hug while kissing you.
But yeah, like you want they should have. That was a missed opportunity. Like they threw all these other Easter eggs that were like, well, here's Alex Crayley on a wanted poster,
Which
and
were
here's-
easily missed.
exactly. Unless you were like, I missed it the first time and I saw it the second time, and then there was like,
I was never going to catch the Marble Hornets references.
yeah,
I'm
it was
sorry,
for the fans.
The only ones that, like, and I'm a fan.
Yeah.
The only ones that I caught were at the very end when you see the Marble Hornets tape.
Yeah.
Well, basically when he says that he bought it at a garage sale and I'm like, oh, okay, it's Alex's video camera. Okay,
Yeah, whereas me, I'm not a fan. I didn't recognize the actors.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's going on further.
Yeah, no, it's... And, like...
Honestly, better ending.
Yeah. I actually liked that. I actually do prefer that because, like, the very beginning part has
that's
no
the
connection.
Thing. Slenderman should just keep going.
Though.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. This movie actually did one thing for the TV show.
Oh.
It proved that Alex has family.
Someone caring about him
Holy
missing.
shit! That he sold the
Well, I'll be jiggered.
Or maybe Jay, or whoever. But somebody had that camera and sold it at a garage sale. Which means that more people exist in that world.
Lawrence universe. In Alabama, in that small town in Alabama. It's not just abandonment. Like it's not just
a
town.
Tim. What's the girl's name?
Jen.
Jen. Whatever the girl's
whatever
name.
the girl's name. Like I think there's a girlfriend as well. That got Sarah that got kidnapped or taken.
Alex's girlfriend
That we never see again.
Yeah.
Brian,
Jay,
Tim. Unless we mentioned
that's it.
Yeah, like honestly, there's 6 people in the. I actually saw a chart last night when I was looking up stuff for Marble Hornets, and yeah, there's like approximately 6 or 8 people throughout the entire cast of the web series.
Yeah.
That ever show up. Otherwise, it's just random people passing by, like in the 1 or 2 scenes where they're actually like walking down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like again, like the reason I caught like the sign was because I was expecting there to be like because they were driving through an Alabama town that's mentioned, and I was like, all right, so I was actually looking for something, and then second viewing, I spotted the sign on the missing sign or the wanted sign on the gas station. I was honestly expecting to see Tim walking down the street as they were passing those shops. But that didn't happen.
Oh man, if they'd have thrown Tim in there, it actually would have been kind of logical because
he's the last survivor.
Well, no, and he was the one who started it all.
Yep.
Because he from his childhood, that's where Slenderman comes from.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
it all makes more sense. But
again, like then we got this all dropped in. Like they didn't do that. They didn't use the series to try and like give a link. They just used these stupid little Easter eggs, which again, as a fan, I appreciated, but at the same time, you need to do more, or you need to have them a little bit more like in your face, so that
you need to have
non-fans
more or
can
none
pick it
at
up.
all.
Yeah, they need to have it so that non-fans can pick it up, or don't do it at all. Do your own separate Slenderman series with your own rules, which I think is the issue I was having.
Even not necessarily even Slenderman.
Yeah. Yeah, it could easily have been like a ghost, like a demon, or something. Like Toby from Paranormal Activity. Like how they deal with, like he's a demon that they can only really interact with through camera.
Yeah.
Especially in that last movie, the Ghost Dimension, the camera is specialized.
I saw the first 2.
The camera is specialized so that you can actually see the ectoplasm. That you can see the material that he's made of, and eventually you can actually straight up see what Toby looks like at the end of the movie. Spoilers. It's horrifying.
Okay.
But yeah, like you either do something that's more connected to the Marble Hornet series, or you do something separate, because otherwise you're leaving.
And here's the thing: in the title, it's a Marble Hornet story, so their option is not to do something separate. Their option
is to
the one that they opted for by that title.
Yeah,
is Marble Hornets exist in this universe.
Yeah,
that's
ergo.
But
we're doing this,
and that's why it's pissy.
Exactly,
like that. That's why. They should have had more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they should have followed the same rules, even though that would have made for a boring movie.
Yeah.
Because it would have.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, like Marble Hornets, the web series, lend itself for the 100 episodes it was part of, for a slow burn horror, like paranoia, like to seep in, and like left the audience coming back, at least the ones that really enjoyed it, coming back and wanting to like, is it what's going to happen this episode, or what's this entry?
Well, and they could have done that again if they hadn't limited themselves to a 90-minute runtime.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they had I hate to gripe on this, but if they hadn't found fucking footage.
Wait, what was the Marble Hornets when things weren't being posted by Jay?
It was To the Ark.
To the Ark.
Yeah.
To the Ark. There was also no reference to the Ark, and To the Ark was integral to Marble Hornets.
Yeah, because it was a like secret, like, well, because the other thing is that this is a movie, and again, like I'm actually kind of with
He's
you right
not
now on this.
posting everything online. I get
Yeah,
that.
I'm kind of with you on this because the movie should have been more cinematic because it's a film. Because the Marble Hornets web series is not just a web series that you watch; it was an alternate reality game. That's why the audience was incorporated into it. Was because originally it was made to be Jay like asking for help online about the investigation and pulling ideas from the audience because they'd send him like comments or emails and stuff like that, and it's like
Suggestions on what to do next.
They had a Twitter feed for Jay. And then eventually Tim and stuff like that. So like again, like it was an ARG originally. So like trying to translate that into a found footage film for a side movie, they should have just made it a cinematic movie. I am actually on your side for that part because
Tim,
it would have made more sense. It would have made more sense.
Tim opened the present.
Tim owns its present. That's not this movie. All right. I think we've. I don't know,
We've pretty well covered our
does everybody else
bases
have anything?
here.
Because I think we're pretty much ready for
I
recommendations.
said everything I was planning on saying.
All right.
I hadn't even really planned to say much, so...
Yes, B. See,
Next time, stick with that.
Oh, shots fired. I will go with not recommending the movie. Go if you like Slenderman. And you want to put in the time, go watch the web series Marble Hornets on YouTube, or go check out some of the other Slender vlogs, like Everyman Hybrid, Dark Harvest, Tribe 12, Trial of Leaves, and...
What's the one with the girls?
Tea Time. It's like, but it's spelled differently with numbers and stuff like that. Just type in Tea Time, Slenderman. Yeah, exactly. Because that one's actually kind of interesting, because it's all Finnish.
Okay, but...
Yeah, anyways,
you're off topic.
Yeah, it's off topic. So yeah, I would not recommend Always Watching as a Marble Hornets movie. It's not. That's my stance.
Yeah, it's really just a poor man's paranormal activity.
Exactly.
See, now, this is where I'm going to surprise the shit out of you. If you're a fan of Marble Hornets, I'm going to go on your recommendation and say that, no, don't watch this, because it'll just piss you off.
Yeah.
However, if you're not a fan of Marble Hornets, I would actually recommend watching it once. I mean, I meant to watch it, like, I watched it 10 days ago, and I meant to watch it again in the intervening time and take notes and, be all professional. But I just didn't want to watch it again. So, I mean, but I would recommend watching it once, because it does show you, through your own observations, about, like, why it fails.
Yeah.
As to what could make it better. And that's always a good thing, to get that mind working.
Like, don't do
like, it's not a good movie.
No.
It's not a good movie. I didn't enjoy it, but the acting is passable.
Yeah.
And, like, there are certain things that it's okay about, but mostly it helps you see what it could have been, and I liked that. So basically, if you're okay sitting through a movie so that you can see what it could have been, not seeing what it was, that's not mine, and that's not yours.
I'm just looking.
Yeah, I know, but that's a special thing. Editing.
Yes.
So, yeah, I recommend watching it for that. Because, honestly, I watched that movie, and I'm pretty sure, with the proper funding, I could make a really, really good Slenderman movie.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that part, like, that idea has me really excited.
It may not be what we have, what's presented physically.
It's not what we have.
But the possibilities
it's not
are
what we'll ever have.
Yeah.
But
the possibilities.
I saw a really
invigorating.
good Slenderman movie buried in this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're not a fan of Marble Hornets and you're okay with watching a movie so that you can see what it could have been, I would give it a watch. I mean, that's obviously a very specific type of individual, but
they're out there. I mean,
I have to say that people like that should watch it, because there is something in there. Mm-hmm. It's just it has nothing to do with what's on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. It's all like just like you see the potential. You don't see. Yeah, you see the potential through the cracks.
There's a Slenderman movie yet to be made.
Yeah, Captain Solano.
I already said my piece.
Oh, okay. So,
but would you recommend? That's the $20,000.
The $20,000 question. Okay, if you haven't seen Marble Hornets, and you're contemplating watching it, I would say, yeah, go ahead and watch this movie. Because if you enjoy this movie, you'll probably enjoy Marble Hornets.
A little bit more, maybe.
Yeah,
Than if
because it's like reading the book after you've watched the movie.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, like that's I think what my feelings are.
If you've already seen Marble Hornets and you love Marble Hornets, don't even bother.
Yeah. Yeah, like I waited for this movie like at least 2 years before, like when they first announced that it was going to happen. And when it finally came out, I was excited. Watched it the first time, I was like, that was cool. And then watched it again, I was like,
The only time I would say that yeah, you should go ahead and watch it if you're a hardcore Marble Hornets fan is if you watched Marble Hornets to death. Like, you watched it 2, 3,
you've watched
4
all
times.
3 seasons, like
All
a couple
3
times.
seasons several times, and you just want something new. It'll give you your fix, but you won't be happy with it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's it. All right. So I guess that's it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, if you didn't, if you want to talk to us, leave a comment in the comment section below wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can also send us a review on iTunes. That would be awesome of you. And you can also send us an email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can send us suggestions for other creepypastas or Slender vlogs that you'd like us to discuss on the show. Also, you can send us messages on Twitter at Dr. Leviathan and Review Cultist. And if you would like to, you can donate. Go to crazonstudios.tumblr.com, where you can check out all the title cards for each episode. And on the little side there's a little donate button. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm still Dr. Leviathan.
And I'm Captain Solanum.
And Mikey, the E stands for Evil, is still missing. But this has been Slendermonth 2016 and Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
Slenderman, Slenderman, all the children try to run. Slenderman, Slenderman, to him it's part of the fun. Slenderman, Slenderman, dressed in darkest suit and tie. Slenderman, Slenderman, you most certainly will die.
Slendermonth! 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 Slendermonth!